Greetings and felicitations, everybody. Jack Olesker here with episode 19. And ironically, you know the line from The Matrix, fate, it seems, is not without a sense of irony. Here I was, just in the last episode, telling you Jack's tip jar is that you got to work even if you're sick, and that's when some of your best writing comes about. So our 24-year-old Alex is 24?
Well, he just turned 25,
25.
so you got grace there.
Okay, so he got upper respiratory infection. He's an engineer, and he was sick for 4 days. And, you know, as a former U.S. Air Force search and rescue combat medic, I know just what the problem is. You know, he needs what's called a 4-pack of Zithromax. You take 2 of them the first day and then 1 each of the following days for the rest of the week, and then it kind of knocks it out. But upper respiratories, that's a rough deal, okay? So you hear me now. So I wake up this morning and I'm coughing for about an hour, okay? I've gotten 3 hours sleep. I cough pretty much anyway because of some of my Air Force service that I can't go into. But, and Kim had an event today at BP that I really wanted to go to. I thought it'd be interesting. It was really like a puff piece. But, you know, I pulled myself out of bed and we went. And you got to suck it up, okay? If you're not feeling good, well, that's too bad. You know, Poe wrote a lot of good stuff when he was in debtor's prison, okay? So, excuse me. So I called my doctor later today, and, you know, she said, well, you know, I can see you tomorrow. She just had a baby, so she's going to see me tomorrow afternoon. And, you know, I'll knock it out. But it's tough when you're not feeling good. But that's when you got to pick up that broadsword and hoist it over your shoulder and start wielding it, you know. And if you've been doing it for a long time, you learn how to wield it. So let's get back to some fun stuff, okay? We had a couple of, you know, kind of dark episodes about writing for novels. So we're going to go back to 1984 and 85, and we're talking about the Care Bears. And boy, was I having a blast, okay? Each episode has 11 minutes, so there's 22 episodes or 24 episodes, so you multiply it times 2. I'm pounding it out. My writers are doing great jobs, and they're delivering stuff. And, you know, my credentials are growing at DIC. You know, I don't think I'm overstating it when I say I'm the golden boy, okay? I'm the go-to guy. That's why Jean brought me on, because, you know, he knows I'm the animal, okay? L'animal. So, and, you know, it's like Patton said, God help me, but I do love it so. And I do, and I did, and I still do, and I always will. So, excuse me, God, I hope I'm over this in a couple of days. So, I think one of the things that Andy liked, Andy Hayward, the president at DIC, he found out that I can write well, I can write fast, I clean up good, I really look good in a suit. You guys don't see me in a suit often. Kim sees all her big executives at her nonprofit in suits, and then she comes home to this. But, you know, I used to wear suits every day, Adolfo, Brooks Brothers, and I clean up well, and you can take me to meetings, and I equip myself very well, as Andy found out when he brought me in for Judy Price. So now we get the call from Cleveland, from those characters from Cleveland, which is owned by gosh, I'm drawing a blank.
The characters of Cleveland.
Care Bears, Care Bears, American Greetings.
Yeah.
So those characters from Cleveland were a subdivision. File drawers are still there, they just don't open quite as easily. So we get a call. They're happy with what they're seeing. They want Andy and I to come out to Cleveland and meet with their executives, which is, wow, that's just great, you know. So everything's going along. I mean, I'm greased rails, okay? We get the airplane reservations. Andy's going first class. I'm going coach, you know. And Lori tells me that we're going to be flying separately on separate planes because Andy is concerned that if the plane crashes, we'll both die. So he wants one of us to survive. I think more than anything, I think he didn't want to say that he was going first class and I was going coach. So I'm sitting in my office, and it's the morning we're going to leave, and I got everything, all my items and everything, my backup information, scripts. And Andy walks into DIC, and I saw two things I had never seen before. Andy Hayward in jeans, which never happens, and a work shirt. I mean, this guy was Harvey Specter before there was a Harvey Specter in Suits. And it's the first time I ever saw Andy shook. And I said, what's going on? You can't make this stuff up. He said that he was at the gate getting ready to go on the plane, and the gal behind the counter announces that the engine fell off on the plane. One of the engines fell off of the plane. And Andy, he's an aerophobiac. Okay, he's terrified. Not too many things terrify Andy Hayward, but he's terrified of flying. When he got this news, he turns ashen, okay, and takes the Lincoln Town Car back to the studio. So I go into Lori's office, and she's got like tears coming down her eyes. She can't even talk, okay. I go into Jean's office, and he starts to say, what's going on with your flight? He starts cracking up in the middle of it. Totally loses it. I said, I assume you heard the engine fell off of Andy's plane. He says, we. So the flight was delayed. Our meeting was delayed for a couple of weeks. So we rescheduled the meeting. And, Andy likes, he used to like Lincoln Town Cars, black Lincoln Town Cars, great car, a lot of room and everything. So the Lincoln Town Car comes to pick us up. And we're going to the airport, and I go in a separate door, and Andy goes in a separate door, and we go to check in. And by now, I'm starting to realize that if you're writing for children's television or animation, you've got what Kim likes to call a flirting loophole, okay? And I always profile these gals. They got to have brown hair, got to be about 25 to 35 years old, real pretty. And I walk up to her, and I hand her my ticket, and I said, be nice to me because I created the Care Bears from your childhood. And she looks at me, and otherwise she's typing in. And she looks at me, and she says, the Care Bears? I said, yeah, innocently, faux innocently. She said, where did the Care Bears live? I said, they live in Care-a-Lot. She said, where do they fly in? I said, they fly in cloud cars, and they shoot out Care Bear stairs. So she takes my ticket, she rips it up, punches the buttons, prints another one, says, here's your seat 2A, okay, first class. So, I'm learning stuff. So we get to Cleveland, and nice offices, pretty casual, And again, a pretty brunette girl, fresh out of film school. She's behind the counter, and she welcomes us. And we walk down a hallway, and the door opens. And Andy looks really good. And I look in there, and there's 7 executives sitting around a long conference table. And I turned to Andy, and I said, sotto voce, really almost a stage whisper. I said, what's going on? Who are these people? And Andy says, he says quietly, each one of them represents a different Care Bear. I said, we're in trouble now. So, they're very, very complimentary. This is the Midwest. I'm a Midwestern boy, so we had that going for us. But, they start, each of them has their own fiefdom, okay? Tenderheart Bear, Champ Bear, Luck Bear. And when they start talking about the scripts, one of the executives says, well, Champ Bear doesn't have enough lines in this one. And the other one says, well, how come Luck Bear isn't challenging Professor Coldheart? And it's going on and on for about 15 minutes. And I see out of the corner of my eye, Andy is on the side of the conference room, and he's watching me. And let me tell you one thing about Andy that I learned. You can learn more sometime by keeping your mouth shut than by talking. And Andy's a great watcher, and he was watching me. And everybody shot all their barrels. And I said, you know, guys and gals, I said, I hear what you say. I respect the franchise. I love the Care Bears, okay? But we only have 11 minutes in an episode. I can't service every single Care Bear in 11 minutes. But what I do promise you is that in an ensuing episode, I'll have a chart on my wall. If I neglected one, I'll use them in the next one, and we'll make up for it. I said, how does that sound? And they're sitting there nodding. I look over to Andy, and Andy's nodding. So we go back outside, and Andy says, you know, you did okay there, Jackie. So we got on a plane, flew back to L.A. Jack's tip jar, okay? Good tip for you. And I said earlier, I said, if you're going to write about a doctor, a lawyer, a taxi cab driver, you got to find out about it. Well, I'm about 4 episodes into Care Bears, and I pull up next to a woman in an SUV. She's got 3 kids in the back, and I see they're playing with Care Bears. And it dawns on me like a lightning bolt. I'm a great writer, but I don't know my customer. So I go in that afternoon, and I go up to Lori. I said, Lori, I got to take the rest of the day off. She says, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Toys R Us. And this is when Toys R Us was, Goliath, And she nods and she says, okay. And I start to walk out. And without looking up, she says, I was wondering what took you so long. So, if you're writing for kids, if you're writing for lawyers, if you're writing, like I said before, for a doctor, you got to research those characters, and you have to be them. You have to walk in their shoes, okay? So that's Jack's Tip Jar. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you real soon. Take care.